Well, good morning, everybody from the beautiful Chagrin Valley. The streak is broken. It's going to be the first non-sunny day that we've had our webinars, but still beautiful, beautiful snow covered ground and ready and excited to get going on the start of a doubleheader today. So welcome. If you are in the second one, we have two full houses today. If you are in the second webinar at 10 o'clock, you'll need to naturally get off this one and then click on the link for the 10 a.m. I'm excited about both of them. Today is really a fun one. I've given this talk several times, and don't get mad at me because I don't know how to count. It says 25, but we're probably going to hit 30 or 40. Some of you may have heard this presentation down at the show. Some of you are going to see this for the first time, but have taken the webinars, and it's going to be a refresher, probably a third of the material we've covered, but it'll be a good refresher. And then 2/3 we'll be talking about countertops, and we'll be talking, about, certain, other things, flooring and things like that in here too. The 10 o'clock is going to be the home office, and I'm really excited about that one. It's going to be a good one. They're all good. And then next week, we have another doubleheader, and the doubleheader next week is going to be jumping into bathrooms at 10 o'clock, and the 9 o'clock is going to be Kitchen Trends 2020. I'm not a big trends person, but what's interesting is the trends today are tending to stick. So that's something that's interesting. I brought back that trend presentation. Okay, let's get started. Naturally, questions are welcomed if I don't get to them right away, or if you have a question afterwards, you can just always email me and I'd be happy to answer, or you can call me. So let's get started. Okay, let's see here. The first design tip is going to be deciding, again, what we want to do as far as the construction of the cabinetry, because the design and style that we want is going to be dictated by the type and construction of cabinetry. So there's 4 designs. We have our traditional, our country, our transitional, and our modern. If we decide that we want traditional, or if we decide that we want to have country, we're going to want a frame on the cabinetry. You can see here, notice here the framing, okay? Right here, there's your frame, there's your door. It gives a much more traditional appearance. We do not need to have the hinges. You can see this picture shows the hinges again, but they do have the concealed hinges today. Or we can go and we can have more of a modern feel. Now, we don't have to have this modern a kitchen. Okay, when we talk about the design styles again, we'll know that we can get involved and have a transitional kitchen, but it's just a cleaner look. You don't have all the framework and all the busyness around the door. So the construction again is either framed or frameless. People ask me all the time, what's the difference, John, as far as the holding up and durability and what's a better quality cabinet? They're both the same as far as the overall end result. They're both going to give you what you want. But if you remember way back, we talked about cabinetry. I can get a longer, bigger cabinet in the framed for more stability. Okay, here are the 4 styles. Reviewing again, the contemporary or modern. It is one of my more popular ones right now. Very minimalistic style of the day. This is a kitchen that was done about 4 or 5 years ago, and still very, very popular. So you notice what's missing there again is the wallpaper, the paint, the vibrant colors. We're tending to see less and less of that, and it's more elegance through simplicity with modern. Like, you don't want to get into, like, you notice the countertops there. They're not that real busy quartz or stone or things like that. They're much more subtle. You just want that overall feel to have a welcoming feel to it. There's transitional. I always refer to this. This is one of my all-time favorite kitchens. You guys come in all the time. I get maybe 3/4 of the people come in and say, I want that kitchen. And it may not be because it's paint. It may not be because, the hardware or anything. It's just the overall feel of that transitional. This is a kitchen that I always refer to as the teeter-totter kitchen. And it's nice and clean and simple. That's actually here in the Chagrin Valley. And you look at that, that is frameless. So if you look at on the left, all the drawers and doors, how they touch each other, that's frameless cabinetry. It's a great feel. It's clean, sophisticated. It can go, I can make this kitchen work in an old house on the west side in Lakewood, or I can make it work in Cleveland Heights. I can make it work in the Chagrin Valley or Strongsville or wherever. It can work anywhere. And we would teeter-totter it. If this were happened to be in Shaker, we may want to go and add a little more of a traditional feel to it. If it's out in Strongsville, we may want to go and have it go more this direction. And what makes this more right here, where the teeter-totter makes it more towards the, I would say, the modern a little bit. Look at the hood. Look at the hardware. Okay. Look at the faucets. You know, that all lends itself a little more on the modern style. Traditional touch of class. So here, now notice, look at what we look at right away. And this is what, as I had mentioned in the, for the folks that were in the cabinet webinar, go to Houzz and start gathering your pictures or Pinterest or wherever you go. And notice that you're going to see the framework again right away. My eye is drawn as a professional to see there's my framework. Okay, so no, I know that this is a traditional style. This is in a Century home in Hudson. And you know, and a beautiful kitchen. If traditional is a touch of class, then country is going to be a touch of warmth. This is you notice I'm saying all these are my favorite kitchens. Every kitchen I do is my favorite kitchen. But a couple of things that are interesting on this kitchen. Okay, this client came to me and said, John, you have one word to get started. Whimsical. And if you were to see up close, you would see the iridescent glass tiles that I used. But the thing that when I walked into this space, everything was at Nadi Pecan. And if you notice the beam and you see those entrance doors, okay, I kept those. I did not wrap the beam. I didn't want that beam to get lost with that Nadi Pecan. I wanted to have that as an accent. Look at those doors, beautiful how I've kept those. And then what we did in this situation is we went and we painted the cabinets, and this is that glaze that we put on the cabinets. Everything here adds a touch of warmth. So that island is crushed glass in a resin material, the island top, you know, with a seafoam green island, adding color into the island. Okay, now here's one that you really, one of the things that we want to do when we do a design, and if you followed me through that designing of that kitchen and everything, we want to go, and by the way, the folks that are just joining me, if you need to see the old webinars, just contact me. If you're interested in the cabinetry and everything I've been talking about, because it's still not too late for you to see them. Just email me. But okay, so now look at this. One of the things in a kitchen, we want to create 2 or 3 hot spots visual. One of them is the cooking area. The cooking area could create that visual hotspot. One could be a bookcase area, or could be an island, or could be, you know, doing things around the sink. And if you see some of my pictures, how I bump that sink forward. But let's focus on this slide on the hood. The hood area and the cooking area can really set the tone and make a real nice focal point in the kitchen. And notice what I did on this one. Not only do I have the hood there, but I've gone and wrapped it around and have an actual, I basically have framed that hood in. And then if you notice on these columns, on the insides, I put lights, glass shelf, their olive oils or spices, everything can go right in there. So it's actually functional too. So it's a very European. This is a transitional kitchen, leaning itself more on the modern, okay? Look at the hood, the way I designed that hood there, okay? Just very clean shaker style door, but frameless cabinetry, you know, more modern hardware. So that is what I refer to as a transitional kitchen leaning more modern. But have something in your kitchen, if you can, and take and have the create a focal point. Now, the other thing too is when you talk about appliances, a lot of you right now may have that microwave over your cooking. One of the things that a lot of people do is they'll go and they'll take that cooking area and just get rid of that microwave, put it somewhere else. A lot of people are going with the speed ovens today and things like that. And we put a nice hood there, you know, and put a couple little hockey puck lights up there. Let me go back and show you what I'm talking about. See, right here. You could put a hood in there very economically, get rid of the microwave, put it somewhere else, and look what I do. This is one of my trademarks. I love doing this. Okay, so now when they turn this light, you know, they're done cooking at night and they're over here to off to the right in the family room. What a beautiful focal point these puck lights do to wash this tile, and putting the lights up in that glass really adds a nice touch. There again, as you can see, the glass and that traditionally, notice how the framework, how that hood is creating the focal point. Okay, this goes to prove I've been around for a long time. When I started, banquet eating was very popular. And then it disappeared for about 20 years. Guess what's back? And as a designer, I like it, because what happens now is that if you take a table, it's the same thing like who's going to be doing a bathroom and joining me for the bathroom talks. But you know, how many of you guys out there have that bathtub, that whirlpool that you've never used in 20 years, and it's right smack, it takes up so much space? Well, that's what a lot of the kitchen tables do today. You have to dedicate so much square footage. But look at that large table. By having it, it's serving three purposes now with this banquet eating. Number one, I can get a larger table into a space without digging into that square footage of the working kitchen area. Number two, I create something, there's another focal point. Look how beautiful that is. Okay, so that's number two, an aesthetically pleasing space. And then number three is I get storage underneath, you know, additional storage. So it creates several things. I did a job, just finished on the east side about 6 months ago, and we put banquet eating in. And in the back of the wall of the house, we put a lot of windows. So what she wanted to do is in the afternoon sun, is be able to just lay and stretch out on that banquette, okay, and read a book and get lost in the book. And what we did was we actually had her lay on a bench, and I had her say, where's your view out the window, and ordered the windows low enough so that she had that view. So that's something that's becoming more and more popular today. Mise en place. This is a term that I love. For you folks that know me out there and have heard me talk, you know who I am a huge fan of. If I ever get the opportunity, with my wife and my daughter, I drive them crazy because they say I'm not a big TV person. They say, what do you want to watch? The only thing I ever hear out of my mouth is Anthony Bourdain. I love Anthony Bourdain. But one of the things that in reading his book, Kitchen Confidential recently, is he talks about this term a lot. And it's called mise en place. And you guys are, if you're here at the 10 o'clock webinar, you're going to hear this even again in the home office. And what this means is everything needs to have a place. Now we look here on these three examples and look at that baking center. Look how you have a defined area for your baking center, where today what we can do is we can go and create a nice baking center with a pull-out shelf. Then we can seal that off, and when it's closed, it looks like a pantry, but you have everything right there in its place. I love the top left too. When I started in this business, people would come to me and say, you know what, I like drawers. And I don't like to have as many doors that open with a shelf or with a rollout. I like to have drawers for things. And I would say, great. And we would be anywhere from 24 to 36. You know, 10 years ago, I thought a 30 to 36-inch drawer was huge. Now they're nice, but look what we can have now. We can even go up to 4 feet. And this is a European model. This is the European brand of cabinets I sell. But you can dig even deeper. Like I just finished a kitchen here on the east side. We use the European inserts. They have built-in spice systems, stainless steel little spice systems for your salt, your peppers, your highly used spices. You know, for me it would be paprika and cayenne and things like that. And they have shakers and all have a place in there. If you look at the far right on that top drawer, What do you do with your aluminum foil? What do you do with your saran wrap? Look at that. It's incredible. It's all has its all own place. And then you go below, canister sets, dividers. So we have that ability to everything to have a place in the kitchen, your knives, everything. And then we go down to the bottom. Here's a new one. This is a sink that's it's popular. You will get out your checkbook. Remember when I talked all in the future with the past webinars where I always relate things to cars and I said, let's go car shopping? Well, here, that bottom right, you'd be looking at a BMW to Mercedes. That is called the galley sink. And that 3-foot sink with the accessories is going to run you about $4,000 or $5,000. And then it can go to 4 foot, can go to 5 foot. You could put 2 faucets on them. But notice what's built in there. Notice how it's double decked, where one slides over the other. You could have your drain boards, you could have your calendars, you could have your cutting boards, you can have condiment racks if you're entertaining. And then the nice thing about that sink, when you're done, you can buy a cover. And that can be covered and you have additional counter space to work on when you're not needing the sink. So that's called the galley sink. But again, based on this slide, you can see everything has a place. Okay, here's a nice one. One of the things that people do today, a majority of the people are getting rid of the desk. Now, by getting rid of the desk, we can still have a command center. So very popular with the command center, people want to have a place to charge things. So a charging station, drawer where that could pull out. I've even done, if you remember my designing of that kitchen, we had a command center, and we actually had that actually exposed where we didn't have it in a drawer. We just had somewhere where you could just run in and set your keys and set that. File drawers. But look at this one on the right. This one is really interesting. And I'm working on a folks in Mentor where we're going to do something similar to this, but you can take a cabinet, shut that drawer, close those doors, and you got a pantry. And then you open it up and there's your command center and your desk area. Now, naturally, you'd be using a laptop and things like that, but what a spot to put your mail. And look at, you have your cork on the inside. What I do a lot of with kitchens, if people want to have what's referred to as a dry erase board, even on the outside, on the inside of one of those panels, so they can write, Mom off to soccer practice, home at 8, things like that. And then you could dry erase. But that's very popular to have a command center in one form or the other. Okay, here's something that it's not etched in stone. So what the triangle method is, and we talked about this way back with appliances and that, but when you talk about designing, there's 3 major components to the kitchen that you work in: your sink, your cooking, and your refrigeration. Now, the cooking in my mind is going to be not the ovens, because the ovens can be a little more out of the way, but your cooktop and things like that. So the 3 areas are going to create a triangle. You should be between 14 and 24 feet. Now, if you're within, let's say 12 feet, you have a very tight kitchen. We have situations that are available to us that we can take care of that. If you're at 33 feet, let's say you're blowing out walls and you're creating a large space, then you know what we can do? We can take care of that, okay, by creating mini triangles and things like that. One of the things I am blessed to do is I have a very strong in the Jewish community, and I do a lot of kosher kitchens. And for the folks out there that understand that, basically you can't mix your meats and your dairies. So what's happening is we have to create mini triangles, 2 sinks, 2 cooktops, different areas for counter space, because the meats and the dairies can't. So we're creating automatically with my Jewish Orthodox Jewish friends. But even, let's say, not even in that direction, but what happens with the typical kitchen today? I can still throw that second sink in there. Put a sink in the island. Now you can all of a sudden have 2 people. One thing also that's very interesting is that more and more people, when we talk about trends, my favorite trend is that the husbands are getting more and more involved in the cooking process. I love to cook, That's one of my favorite things to do. So, there's always, and my daughter home from college right now, we have a smaller kitchen. You know what? We're all three in there all the time, and we love it. It's a great time to be together. But we have to make accommodations for that, to be able to have multiple people working at the same time. Okay, some guidelines. And a lot of these are going to sound like no-brainers, but believe me, I get into kitchens all the time where I said, my God, why did they do that? But here's the first one. What do you do with the refrigeration? You want to have at least 15 inches of counter to the side of the refrigerator to be able to set things down. Let's say you want to pour a glass of juice or something like that. You want to have that. Now, one of the other things that I do is I like to stack all my tall units. So I'm designing a kitchen right now where I'm putting the refrigerator in the middle of two pantries, left and right. And then you say, well, John, where's my counter space? Well, I have a beautiful island when I turn around that right there, I can be able to set everything on the island. So that works really well. So you want to allow at least 15 inches. Naturally, I like a little bit more, but 15 would be the minimum. Okay, for our sink, we want to allow at least 15 inches to the left and the right. Again, I like to see more, but really 15-inch would be a minimum. I would like to see at least 21 to 24 inches. Another thing that comes up in the interview process to find out, are you left or right-handed? Where do I put the dishwasher? Okay, do I put it to the left? Do I put it to the right? The other thing about the dishwasher, if we're designing with an island and let's say we put the cooktop on the island, then what do we do? I don't want the dishwasher opening into the space where somebody's going to be standing at the cooktop. A lot of things to think about. Cooking. What's interesting on cooking is where, I met somebody this week and I'm going to have fun designing a beautiful kitchen with them. And the lady's biggest concern, and I had an easy answer for it, by the way, but her biggest concern was, John, you know what? I have my cooking on an island right now, or it was actually a peninsula, but what are your thoughts about putting it against a wall? And you're going to, and for my home office folks at 10 o'clock, we're going to have the same discussion at 10 o'clock, except we're not going to be talking about cooktops. We're going to be talking about working with your desk, so they're both the same. So do you want to be up against a wall cooking and not be with the guest? Or do you want to take and put the cooking on the island or a peninsula and be able to be welcoming people in and communicating and things like that? I'm a guy that absolutely loves having it, on a personal basis. I love having it in the open where I could be communicating and talking and things like that. But either way, whether it's on an island or whether it's going to be up against the wall, you want to have at least 12 inches again to do that. And basically what that is the stove handles. I'll get into a lot of kitchens that were done back 20, 30 years ago, where they'll actually put the cooktop towards the end of an island and the handle sticks over. That's a trip to the hospital. You got a skillet with, olive oil in there, and that's bad news. So you really want to be protected in doing that. Everybody wants an island. And we talked about the guidelines when we did our designing of that kitchen. Here it is. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you have a minimum of 36 inches all the way around that kitchen. Now, and again, if it's 35, it's 37, okay, but you don't want 30. Just 30 is just absolutely too tight. So you want to have a minimum of 36. And you can see on this plan, we have on the top, we have 40.5 inches. We have 41.5 over on the right, and I'm at 38 at the bottom. So I like to start, if you have a good memory, when we designed that kitchen, I went and offset my lines to start at 42 inches. So I always start at 42 and then I adjust accordingly. Now, why do I adjust accordingly? Well, if I'm at the sink area, I want to have a little more, if I can. if I'm at the cooking area or the seating area or things like that, again, I want to adjust accordingly what's going to be happening on the island. Okay, any Solon folks out there? Here's a Solon kitchen. Now, I'm going to throw you a curve. Oh, by the way, there's my trademark. See how nice this is? Okay. And again, you don't have to spend a fortune here. This hood, you could get hoods like this for anywhere from $400 to $700. You can even say to me, John, you know what? I'm doing a job right now in Cleveland Heights in one of the older apartments, and there's just nowhere to vent. So these things can also come ductless. Not the best in the world because it's going to be blowing air back into the room, but it's a heck of a lot better than having a hood at all. So you could spend $400 to $700. Okay, there's the puck lights. Look at how beautiful that is. And then this is again from a view from the family room. Turn all the lights off and have that as my night light. Beautiful. So a couple here. This is let's do a little bit of an analysis of why this kitchen number one was done. We need to know that the husband was retiring. I'm sure a lot of you folks out there really love when all of a sudden the husband wants to get in the kitchen after 30 years and do the kitchen and be a part of it. But so the husband retired. He wants to now get involved and get into cooking. So this is overlooking the metro parks. So if you look here, this was only one small window. The sink was under the window. The cooktop was right here. So two people could not be working at the same time. So what I did was I said, okay, why not double up the window, more space, put the sink in the corner. Still looking out the window, taking a dead corner, make it utilitarian. There's my 4 feet. Okay, so both can be working beautifully. And I have my nice island. So now all of a sudden it becomes a kitchen for workspace for 2. Another design tip. See the microwave? You decide we're going to put a microwave in, don't throw it on the shelf. Don't throw it on the countertop. And when you buy the microwave, spend an extra $100 to $150 if you buy a microwave. Most of you people aren't going to put a microwave in today, okay? But if you do, get this trim kit and put the trim kit around it so it looks like a built-in piece. What other design tips? Oh, here's one for you. Remember we talked about framed and frameless cabinetry? Well, guess what? We can put both in the same kitchen. Notice what I did here. The kitchen's frameless. Okay, see all the doors are touching each other? But look at the island. Look at that. We went and did framed on the island. We did framed here. Gives more of a furniture feel. So if you have an area in your kitchen where you have like a bookcase area or any other area, and we want to formalize it a little bit, why not do both in the same kitchen? So notice what I did in this also. While you can't see as much here on the island, but look what we did here. I went, and I love doing this, okay? I bumped the cooktop forward. I went and raised up the toe kick level a little bit, and I recessed the toe kick back, and I went with a black toe kick. Makes this look like a piece of furniture, okay? So there's a lot of different things we can do. Remember, I tell you everywhere, let's create a couple hot spots. Well, guess what? There's one hot spot. Look at the other hot spot, the island. Okay, we made that, put that on legs, went inset with it, make it look like furniture. Counter depth refrigeration is huge today. We talked about that in the appliance webinar. Remember, this is where I talk, and this is the slide where I always ask people, you know, when we do this kitchen, are we looking to put a Toyota Camry in? Are we looking to put in a Mercedes? What are we looking for? And to know, you know, I love counter depth refrigerators. This is a designer. This is another friend. Last week we did the lighting, and that wafer light was my best friend. Well, this is also equally my best friend. And the nice thing about this is we can get a clean, sophisticated look with a counter depth refrigerator. I can be within a 1/4 inch on the sides and a 1/2 inch on the top and for air gap, and it looks clean and nice. And guess what? We spend anywhere from, I would say, you could probably get them at starting at $2,200 to $4,000. My favorite one out there right now, I got to tell you, with hands down, Bosch has a new one out there, and it is really, really good. I'm a big Bosch guy, and I love that new Bosch refrigerator. Also with this refrigerator, French door. Notice the French door there, where the two doors open on the top. Then you have that wide refrigeration all the way across. Decorative end panels. Whoops. Decorative end panels. Look at now with this slide. So when we do cabinet sides, and it's funny, people come up to me all the time and they say, John, what does a kitchen cost? And you know my answer, and I've been doing this, I've lost track, again, 1984. So what is that, 36 years now? I've been doing this 36 years, have a lot of experience. People come up to me all the time and say, what does a kitchen cost? And I say, you know what? I have no idea. I can't tell you until I get to know you, because that appliance package, $5,000 to $10,000 gets us nice appliances. 30 to 50,000 gets us nice appliances. Now, the one thing I will say about this, by the way, the lifespans of this stuff. You know you're saving money on your dishwashers, on your, all this stuff where, like this unit right here, okay, that's a beautiful unit, but all counter depth refrigerators, and most of these refrigerators today like this are going to give you 10 to 12 years at the most. Where you invest in the built-ins and things like that, you're at 20 to 30 years. I was with somebody yesterday, we were looking at dishwashers, and we were looking at, KitchenAid versus Miele. KitchenAid, fabulous dishwasher, can't go wrong. But you know what? You have to always have in the back of your mind, I'm swapping it out in 10 years. And then all of a sudden you have Miele, and you spell that Miele, and all of a sudden for $1,600, we get extra features, better built unit, and the lifespan's 20 years. So these are all the things to consider when you're going out and buying your appliances. And same thing here, look at the side here, the decorative side panels. Now, those, I'm talking about on the right side of the screen, those end panels, and you may have them at home just now, just flat, just like finished wood without the decorative, door design. So this right here adds to a kitchen, I would say anywhere from $1,000 to $2,500 to do that throughout a kitchen. On the island ends, look at the island end and things like that. But if you're going after a traditional or a country kitchen and the budget allows it, it's a nice touch. If you want more of a modern type of feel, I would not be doing that. I would be putting more of a flat panel. Transitional, I like to do this. If the teeter-totter is leaning a little bit, again, how's that teeter-totter going to lean? If the teeter-totter is going to lean a hair towards the traditional, then you're definitely going to want to consider this if the budget allows, because it adds a nice touch. If the teeter-totter is going to go more towards the modern, you're going to definitely maybe consider not having them. Integrated appliances, okay? Now, this is something that is really interesting. One of the things while we're on this slide, okay, look at what I did with the TV. Two things here, okay? Look at the dishwasher. What did I do there? Okay. This again shows how long and how much experience I have doing this, is that I did this kitchen 25 years ago. And not this one. I did this client's kitchen, and then now we've redone it again. And one of the things that we did this time around was the client said, I'm not missing out. You raised that dishwasher 25 years ago, raise it again. I love it. So you have to have the space in the kitchen to do it. You have to have a strategic area to do it. But then look what I did with that TV. Remember when we were designing that kitchen in Brecksville? Remember I talked to you what I did with the TV? There it is. So what I did was, and what I did here, I went to Kevin at Lowe's here in Chagrin Falls, bought a TV for $150 for the client. This client basically said, just do my kitchen for me. They just let me loose. And so I went to Kevin at Chagrin Falls, spent $140, and I went and put an arm on that TV in the back, put a false front so the screen lines up with the front of the cabinet, but you could take that TV out and swivel it. But now you look here and we talk about the integrated appliances. Look at the dishwasher, it's integrated. You would not have known that was that was a dishwasher if I didn't tell you. That could have been a cabinet, a raised cabinet. But look at the refrigerator. Now, that's built in, and that's what's referred to as integrated. You don't know it's a refrigerator. Now, you may say to me, John, come on, get real. That's the only big, tall unit there. Of course it's a refrigerator. Anybody would know that. If you were standing in your kitchen, you would not make that comment to me, because you know what? Right over, it's off the screen to the right, is the same item. And what do you think that is on the right? Looks identical. It's a walk-in pantry. So I mirrored it on the other side. The same lights above, the same everything. So you know what? You got a 50-50 shot. If I didn't tell you which one was the refrigerator and freezer, you would have a 50-50 shot knowing which was which. That's integration. Okay. Again, where do you want your budget to be? Induction cooking. Now, what is induction cooking? What if I told you there's cooking out there that involves zero heat? There's no heat. That cooktop's not generating any heat. None. I could take that pot off and I could put my hand on the glass. It'll be warm, but I could do it. The heat is generated in the metal of the pan. So we have our molecules. There's a magnetic field under that glass. We have a molecule, the molecules in that metal with that magnetic field are going to cause the molecules to move 1,000,000 miles an hour, which causes friction, which causes heat. Now, what do you want to spend in a cooktop? You can go with, and by the way, with induction, I'm a gas guy, but I got to tell you, I would never be disappointed as a homeowner if I was offered induction with a house, or if I'm buying it, if I'm, if I, for one reason or other, I'm not wild about gas, I could very happily live with induction. It boils and cooks as quick as gas. The controls, okay, are much better than the traditional electric. I don't sell any electric cooktops anymore. It's either induction or it's either going to be gas. Okay. Okay, there she is. There's my all-time favorite cooktop. I would own no other cooktop personally than this one. Now, why do I love this cooktop? I love it for several reasons. Okay, number one, I love to cook. But now look what I can do. Look at that grate system. I could be sliding my pots and pans and everything with a continuous grate like that. It has 5 burners. Look at the controls in the front. You know why I don't like controls on top? Because I'm losing space. I'm losing burner space. So by putting those controls on the front, those actually light up, by the way, so the ring, so that when the cooktop's working and you know that you have that. So this by hands down is the best cooktop on the market, and it's made by Wolf. But the reason I love this is, do you notice how the cooktop is routed into the countertop? Okay, I could do a whole kitchen. I put these in probably right now into at least 60 to 70% of my kitchens. I could do a whole beautiful kitchen. You've seen my designs and everything. And all I get from the doggone homeowners when I come out, oh, John, thank you so much for pushing me on this cooktop. So, they just love it so much. But now the only negative to it, you're going to spend an extra probably $1,000. I think it's well worth the money. But again, it's made by Wolf. But the reason for this slide is 5 burners, not necessarily this cooktop. And with the 5 burners are really nice because the middle one, you're always going to get a high BTU. The BTU is how much energy it turns out. So you're going to get a high BTU in the middle. This cooktop, I believe, is 20,000 BTU. So they're going to range between 17,000 and 20. This is a high one. But usually that 5th burner, one of the main reasons for that 5th burner for people that do sauces and things like that is they get a nice simmer burner. So that top right one that you see there is a simmer burner. which is really nice. Okay, I love this baby again. Speed oven. What if I told you that I could have a baked potato, restaurant quality, in about 8 minutes? This is what's replacing the microwave today. So now all of a sudden, now it depends on your lifestyle. If your lifestyle is, John, I'm home all day, what's a big deal of having, a baked potato in an hour? It all depends on your lifestyle and things like that. But this is all pre-programmed with recipes. It's going to cut your cooking time down in at least a half to 2/3. It's about the size and cavity of a microwave. It's not going to replace your regular oven. But I will tell you this, you put this oven in, you will do 80% to 90% of your cooking in that oven. And that's referred to as a speed oven. Okay, now here's another one. And we've talked about this again for people that missed the past webinars. We've talked about all these. That steam oven. This is something where if you're going to do a lot of cooking and the budget allows it, this is the best way to cook. One of my favorite things to eat right now, and I love salmon. And when I did a cooking demonstration for somebody where we actually took them pre-pandemic out to do, where they can actually cook in these things. We had Chef Bob come in and we did seasoned asparagus on the top, and then we put underneath it the salmon, and they both came out not tasting like the one or the other, but the asparagus was in a perforated tray. It dripped down onto the salmon and seasoned the salmon. It was incredible. Fish is incredible in these things, but these are called combi steam. Actually, my heading should probably have said combi steam because it's a combination of convection and steam. You notice that water tank on the right. Some of these brands, they come where you can have it plumbed like a refrigerator, or non-plumbed where you're going to have a tank. And most of the tanks now are in the top in the control panel. But a steam oven is if it's something that you really cook and you have that kind of lifestyle and that budget to allow it, you're still going to need a main oven. Then you put in a steam oven. Convection cooking. What is it? I use that term just in the past slide. Convection cooking is basically a fan that blows in the back of the room, in the back of the oven, and it blows the air around. Let's put a turkey. Remember a week or 2 weeks ago now, I cooked my Thanksgiving dinner and I put the turkey in. With a convection oven, right away, it's going to seal off and make that skin on the turkey crispy, and it's going to seal in all the juices and give us a real tender cut, which is really, really nice. Now the couple differences out there, you can spend on an oven, like a double oven, you could spend $3,000 or you can spend $8,000. You get up towards the high end, besides being better quality, you get a situation where double fan systems, and then you get what's referred to as true convection. So instead of the air just being blown around in the cavity, it actually pulls it. True convection is going to pull it from the sides through the walls of the sides of the oven back, recalibrate the heat exactly, and bring it back into the room. Again, what do you want? So, it all depends. That's why when I work with somebody, I have to get to know their lifestyle. To spend $8,000 on ovens where you don't, why does it matter? True convection or double fan systems or this or that, if you're not going to really be into that type of cooking. And the nice thing about convection too is with pastries and breads and things like that. Actually, that steam oven's really good for breads, that combi steam. But so that's where you really want to understand and where you want to put your dollars. You're going to be hit with 30 to 40 $1,000 decisions or more. Okay, the people that I've worked with in the past or the people I'm working with now, you're seeing it live and in person. One of the examples clearly was that cooktop that we just talked about, that gas cooktop. Is that worth $1,000 more, to do that? Sous vide cooking. Okay, this is something that's more and more popular, and basically this is cooking with hot water. And so more and more people are doing, and they have portable sous vide units and things like that. This is really big in the restaurants, but to cook with sous vide, you're going to see a lot of the stuff today too that's coming out of Heinen's is wrapped so that you can do sous vide cooking. But again, sous vide cooking is basically cooking with steam. That's where these steam ovens get really good. Cooking with steam or cooking with, you know, hot water, and the nutrients get contained, everything. I'm not going to dwell on this, but so what I would recommend to you, is this something that would interest you chefs out there, you know, to have a sous vide system in an oven, or a lot of these ovens now are starting to have that feature of the sous vide cooking. So that's something to consider if you're when you start understanding and considering your cooking options. Okay, raise your right hands and promise, John, I promise to get that little lady on the bottom left. 100 to 150 bucks. You hit that button, your disposer turns on. You hit that button, your disposer turns off. That is what's referred to as an air switch. People love those. Another design tip is going to be the faucets. Do you notice there's two there? If you're going to filter your water, you almost, now there's some that are faucets that are coming out where it's not an issue, but most of these faucets, it's, you put a filter on that main faucet, it's going to restrict the flow. The other thing it's going to do is you're going to be going through cartridges constantly, because like when you boil water for vegetables or something, you don't need to have it filtered. So that's why they put a separate filler on the faucet, you know, separate faucet there. In all the years, this is one of my favorite countertops. And if you go to my website, you'll see this kitchen. But granite, you always have known granite to be polished. Granite doesn't have to come polished. Granite can come three ways. It can come polished, it can come leather. That's what this is. It's like a satin semi-gloss paint. Or it can come flat, and you would know that as you would know as flat, but it's honed, H-O-N-E-D. I would shy away from honed. I would shy away from a real flat surface because we have oil on our fingerprints, and all of this, the protective things that you put on, the sealants on the stone, is water soluble, not oil based. So you're going to impregnate into that flat finish with your fingerprints, and you're going to be really upset at me for selling it to you, which I wouldn't, because of that reason. Now, one of the things that we're going to talk about quartz countertops in a moment, but quartz countertops will offer, they have a anti-fingerprint, where I'm not saying a fingerprint won't get on it, but it's much, much more restricted and easier to get off. So they have like fingerproof resistant. So when you look at Cambria and some of these quartzes out there, they now are going to have that. They brought it out about 10 years ago, disaster. They took it back, and now they've come up with a protective system where it really works. So a lot of people don't want that shiny granite look in their kitchen. They want more of a toned down type of look to it. So this again is called leather. That's a granite. Look at the large single bowl sink. Do we do single bowl, double bowl? You know, you guys are, if you're enjoying these webinars, you guys shoot me, get me, say, John, keep going. We could have a webinar on plumbing fixtures and flooring and, you know, countertops separate, you know. So if anybody, just shoot me a thing and say, hey, let's keep going. Okay, quartz sinks. You don't have to spend a fortune for a sink. The average sink out there is going to be anywhere from $500 to $1,000 to get a halfway decent sink. This is quartz. This Blanco is my favorite brand of sinks, B-L-A-N-C-O, if you're going quartz. So for $500 or $600, you get a virtually indestructible sink. And there it is right there. A lot of nice colors. The only color that I would really shy away from on a quartz would be like a white or an ivory because it looks plasticky. But you get some of these, like some of these colors out there, like that one there. I mean, it's a beautiful looking sink. So quartz, indestructible. There's that galley sink I talked about. Edelman Plumbing, which are now open. By the way, everybody's pretty much open today. Spent a lot of time at Ferguson's yesterday with a couple clients. And it went very well. I think it went very well, you know, as far as people being protective and things like that. So you're noticing today there's a lot of places out there. So Edelman Plumbing has a full display of this galley sink if you're interested really in seeing that. Quartz countertops. 5 to 8 years ago, all you folks came out to me and said, I want to have marble in my kitchen, and I wouldn't sell it to you. I still won't sell it to you. I'll do it in a bathroom. And there's no reason to sell it to you today because quartz, Cambria, Caesarstone, all these companies have come up with this look in quartz. Now, what is quartz? 90% ballpark quartz crystals, man-made material with a resin. And you run into a situation now where it doesn't have to be sealed. Consistent. Okay, the problem you run into with real stone is that, you know, if there's, let's say you go look at a slab and you're a procrastinator and you say, oh, I love that slab, and you don't do anything about it. And then you come back 3 weeks later and the slab and the run are gone. And you say to yourself, oh, no problem. Do you have more of it in Cincinnati or this you can bring in? Yeah, but guess what? It's not going to look the same. It's like wallpaper, you know. That's with natural stone. It's always going to be a little different. That's why when you purchase it, you want to look at, they number the slabs like Swiss cheese. You always like say 20, 21, 22. You don't want to go in there and select 20 and 28. Okay, you want to try to stay within the consistent run of it. With quartz, you don't have this issue. The other thing is with quartz, you know, you don't want to design a kitchen until you know the slab size you're using. Okay, if you're over 100 to 120 inches, you would shoot, you know, could you see if I designed your kitchen and then all of a sudden we put this in and I made the island too big and I have to put a seam down the middle of it, you would shoot me. So what we want to do is understand the material that you're using and know that we do the island within that. Now, quartz has jumbo sizes where they're much wider and longer, so we have more flexibility. And that's not that much an issue because most countertops are not going to be going with battleships as our island or anything. Another extra design tip here, look at the hood color and look at the faucet. Gold is coming back. That is a trend though that, you know, last night with an appointment, she loved the cold hardware and she looks at me and said, John, how long? I said, excuse me? She said, trend, how long? I said, you got about 2 years out of it. I said, but you know what? If you can live with it and you're happy with it for the rest of your life, put it in, you know? But that was a good question she asked, you know, what's the trend on it, you know? Luxury tile, luxury vinyl tile, love it. If you get into a situation where you don't have hardwood in the house now, you know, and don't let that word vinyl scare you, but now we can get in there and we could put down a tile floor that you can't almost tell the difference that it's not wood or not. And same thing, if you want, let's say a tile look, we could do a tile look and go in there and it looks just like tile, but it's not. We can even grout it with an epoxy grout so it looks like tile. Here's the winner with this stuff. The winner with this is, let's say you have, I keep referring to Strongsville. I've done a lot of work in Strongsville lately, but if with it, we did a Strongsville project and they had tile all over the first floor and they did not want tile anymore. You know the cost to tear tile up and prep for a new wood floor or something? We can go right over tile with this luxury vinyl, you know? So it adds a nice touch. I don't like putting it up against real hardwood if we're gonna get a wood look. Because then it doesn't, you know, it tends to not look as authentic. 3D tiles. Look at the fun we can have. Okay, now this might be a little bit overkill, but there's a lot of 3D architectural tiles out there. My favorite brand is called WOW, W-O-W, when we do something like that. But if you can look on their website, really interesting, fun stuff. So remember I talked again about a feature wall or something? I mean, this could be done around a fireplace or a backsplash or this or that, but you know, so we have that opportunity. This was a slide that we saw last week with lighting, LED lighting, light emitting diodes. Basically, it's a light that's going to last you forever. We can put it in there. Look at, I can do it stripped into walls. I can do this. I can do it countertops now. Even the quartz are coming out with that onyx look where we can put it underneath. you want to make sure with Kelvins, Kelvins is the measure of light, the color of light. You want to make sure between your under cabinet lights and your lighting and everything that you keep the same Kelvin so the color is the same throughout. Most things today you're going to find are LED. Get a pro involved. You know, when you start designing, like I have several emails to respond to today, people that wanting just design help. And a lady actually called me yesterday. She says, I have my friend that can do the work, but you know, John, I just told my husband, you know what, I can't design a kitchen myself. I need to get somebody. I said, well, you called the right guy. But at least even if you're do it yourself or something, get a professional to be able to go through this and get you something to avoid making mistakes on that. Okay. Artistic renderings. Look at that. That is not a photograph. Remember we talked about the hood making a statement? That client saw their kitchen before it was done with this rendering. I have a kid out of Washington, D.C. for anywhere from $400 to $800 that'll do your kitchen so you can see it before it's done. Okay, so that's out there for people. You know, if you have trouble visualizing, I highly recommend it. Websites to go and look at. See, we're way past 25 tips. I got to stop in about a minute or two, and we're at the end. But Houzz, I love Houzz. I have a profile on there. I love it. Absolutely love it. You can get on there. No More Magazines. You can create your own file system within it, and you know, save things and send me pictures. I had a client last night down in Canton. I have to respond today. John, here's the lady so excited. She said, here's all my pictures, you know, to show you of ideas to get started on the colors and that. So, you know, really, really fun for people. And Garden Web, I love. It's part of Houzz now. So when you go to Garden Web, we'll take you into Houzz. But what happens there is that you can type questions and get questions from people all over. Let's say you can't decide between a KitchenAid and a Miele dishwasher. Why don't you go on Garden Web and type in, hey, does anybody out there have that KitchenAid dishwasher? Have you had luck with it? Or should I invest the extra $300 and go to Miele? You'll get probably 50 answers, you know? So there's all these tools out there for us. Okay, this is an old slide, but there are classes coming up in June. I'm still doing all my classes. So if anybody is interested in a class, I'm going to be putting the schedule up or email me. I'll probably have a class in June. I go into the fall. If anybody has taken a class that's listening now, if you want to type a comment and what you thought people thought of it, and I can explain, did you enjoy it and things like that. But that's also offered. So you can see I've given you all the tools to do that. And I also have that design guide. If anybody needs that design guide out there, let me know, which is absolutely a fabulous tool. Okay, perfect timing. So thank you very much. I always love the feedback, you guys, when you enjoy it. So shoot me emails, feedback, things like that. And if you're at the 10 o'clock, we need to click out, re-register, not ready, you're already registered, just click that link. And we're gonna get talking about home offices in about 2 minutes. So I'm gonna get a glass of water. I'm going to get that going and I'm gonna let the fun continue. So you guys have a great weekend. And shoot me any questions or emails, be happy to answer them. Thank you, and I see you hopefully next week. That's another good one. If you enjoyed this one, the Trends 2020. Bye-bye.